Diego Lopes and Gene Silva just had probably the fight of the year in 2025. It may have been the greatest featherweight fight I've ever seen. It's definitely the best 145-pound fight since probably Conor McGregor versus Chad Mendes. These guys went to war. So we're going to be playing matchmaker for everybody in the featherweight division in the top 5, plus Gene Silva. Here we go. I can't wait for the featherweight division moving forward. Now for Gene Silva, the fight I want to see him have next is Arnold Allen. Guys, Gene Silva actually looked really good against Diego Lopes. I know he lost. He got knocked out bad. Actually, he wasn't out that bad. He could come back pretty soon. He got overzealous, overconfident, wasn't defending himself enough. Diego Lopes caught him with the spinning elbow. Awesome fight. But imagine seeing Gene Silva versus Arnold Allen. Guys, that would be chef's kiss. It would be pure cinema. I need to see this fight. Gene Silva is a guy, I think he's still, 28 years old? He could still be a future champion of this division. His striking may be unparalleled in the whole division, especially with the chinny Volkanovski. Volk would probably still outstrike him. But other than Volk, who's outstriking Gene Silva on the feet right now? One of the only guys who I think might be able to is Arnold Allen. Gene Silva's power looked great. He got pieced up by Lopes in the grappling department in the first round, but in the second round, Gene Silva found his range. He was touching Lopes whenever he wanted to. He was kind of showing levels on the feet before he got overzealous and got caught, and that's credit to Diego Lopes. He was the more composed, calm fighter. He found his shot, the finishing shot, and won the fight. But I feel like if they run that fight back in a couple months from now and Gene Silva fights with a higher fight IQ, which is a big if because he seems like a wild guy, that's a winnable fight for Gene Silva. And if he could beat Diego Lopes, he could beat pretty much anybody in the division, including Arnold Allen. But Arnold Allen's a guy who went toe-to-toe with Max Holloway. I think he lost that fight 3 rounds to 2. It was close. Arnold Allen, he reminds me of a lot of the featherweight version of Jack Della Maddalena. This guy could throw hands with anybody. I don't think there will be a lot of grappling in this fight, but even if there is, let's not act like Gene Silva has a deficiency in the grappling department. Sure, he got out-grappled by Diego Lopes, but it's Diego Lopes, the best submission artist at 145. This guy submitted Bryce Mitchell, probably the second best submission artist at 145. I think both these guys are going to want to stand and bang. This would be a easy contender for fight of the night, no doubt. If this didn't win some sort of post-fight bonus, I would be shocked. In terms of who I would pick to win this fight, I don't even know, and that's what makes it so great. Either one of these guys can win a fight. I think both of these guys have the potential to be champion in the future, especially if the division doesn't have Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, or Ilya Topuria. With that holy trinity of all-time great top 15 fighters of all time gone, featherweight feels a lot more open. I know Volk's not gone yet, but he will be soon. And I think both these guys still have championship potential. I think this fight would be an absolute banger, and it's just one of those fights you know would be so fun. You got to put this together. There are a lot of options for Gene Silva. Maybe you do Josh Emmett if he beats Yusuf Zalal. Maybe you do Brian Ortega. There are a lot of options for Gene Silva right now, but if you want to put on a banger, high-level fight that will get him back into top 5 contention right away, give him Arnold Allen. And for Arnold Allen, if he gets this win, he's probably 1 fight away from a title shot. I think both these guys are 2 wins away from a title shot, and this fight would be cinema. Let's get it done, Dana White. Arnold Allen versus Gene Silva. And then next up for Diego Lopes, I like to fight with Aljamain Sterling. I know these guys have trained with each other in the past, both high-level grapplers. I would argue these are the 2 best grapplers at 145, and honestly, 2 of the highest-level grapplers we have ever seen at 145. Aljamain Sterling, former bantamweight champion, probably a top 3, top 5 easily bantamweight of all time. I know he's like 36 years old, and he lost to Movsasr Evloev, but I truly think with Volkanovski gone, Aljamain Sterling can win the belt at 145. I made a video about this before. This guy's striking. It's not flashy. It doesn't wow you when you watch it, but it's so effective. And like just round after round, you slowly start to realize, oh, like Aljo's winning. That's how it happens always. He was outstriking Peter Yan in rounds. I feel like Aljo could really become champion at 145, but that is if he could get through Diego Lopes, who, if anybody could deal with the grappling of Aljamain Sterling and the controlling factor that Aljo has, it's Diego Lopes. He's going to be throwing up triangles from the bottom. He's got the most dangerous jiu-jitsu, I think, in the history of featherweight in the UFC. And I don't think it's even close. I would love to see this fight on the feet because I'm very curious at how Aljamain Sterling would deal with the chaos that Diego Lopes causes in a stand-up fight. Aljo hasn't really fought a lot of guys who are just chaotic on the feet. He fought Corey Sandhagen, who's very methodical. Peter Yan, very methodical. Sean O'Malley, very methodical. All these guys are very precise, smart strikers. That's not Diego Lopes, and that's not an insult to Diego Lopes. He's just a different style of striker. He wants the fire. He wants chaos. He wants things going crazy because he knows that is where he thrives, and that's where he could find the knockout. When things were clean against Gene Silva, Diego Lopes was getting pieced up. But then as soon as things started to get wild, Gene Silva really went on the front foot, trying to get that spinning elbow knockout. That's when Diego Lopes thrives, and he found the knockout. Now, against Aljamain Sterling, I think he's one of the smartest fighters I've ever seen. He's super high IQ. I think he will do everything in his power to avoid an exchange like that. I think he's going to do a lot of clinch work, try and get Diego to the ground, but it will be interesting. I could foresee a situation here where this is like a Hamzat versus Gilbert Burns kind of fight where Aljo takes him to the ground in the first round, and then Diego Lopes is throwing up crazy submissions, and Aljo's like, I don't want any part of this. Like, let's go back to the stand-up and see who could brawl it out there and win. So I think this would turn into a stand-up fight. My early lean for this, I just got to go Diego Lopes, man. I love Aljamain Sterling, and I think he can become champion at 145, especially if he won this fight. This would be a number one contender fight. Whoever wins this would probably get the next title shot. But this is another one of those fights. It's a toss-up, and when you're matchmaking in the UFC, you want toss-up fights that nobody knows who is going to win, and fights that will be entertaining. And we know Aljo isn't always the most entertaining guy. I wouldn't call him boring, but he's not like knock your socks off entertaining. But you put him against Diego Lopes, it is impossible for Diego Lopes to have a boring fight. Movsasr Evloev tried to make that fight boring with Diego Lopes, and he couldn't do it. Lopes is always going for the finish. I don't think I've ever seen somebody in recent UFC history who goes after the finish more than Diego Lopes, and how could you not love him for that? Diego Lopes has, after that fight with Gene Silva, has solidified himself as one of my 5 favorite fighters in the UFC. I think he's going to be a fan favorite for a long time to come. Only thing that worries me about him a little bit is his chin surviving, because he took a lot of shots, and he always does, and he relies on his chin more than he should, and eventually that's going to bite him. Hopefully it doesn't happen until later in his career, though. But this is a great matchup. I don't know who would win. I don't know who you guys would think would win. I would assume Diego Lopes would probably be the favorite. I bet the odds makers would give him like a 60, 65% chance to win, but would it shock anybody if Aljo just won 49-46 in this fight? I don't think it would. I want Aljamain Sterling versus Diego Lopes, number one contender fight. Let's see who wins. Let's do it. And then we get to the 2 forgotten guys in the division. Nobody knows where they are, what's happening with them. Yair Rodriguez and Movsasr Evloev. This is a fight to put together. This is the least hyped, entertaining fight of all these matchups I put together, but these guys are both top 5, both a fight or 2, especially Evloev away from fighting for the title. Evloev probably should be fighting for the title right now, but apparently he's not in favor with Dana White, Hunter Campbell in the UFC. I think Evloev would win this fight. I think Yair is probably past his prime. I think the prime peak form of Yair Rodriguez was when he fought Max Holloway. He went up 2-0 against Max Holloway, ended up losing to 3-2. But his striking looked amazing in that fight. Max Holloway actually had to use a decent amount of grappling to win that. But I think this is just going to be Evloev 29-28, 48-47 kind of decision. He's a very smart fighter. Other than Aljamain Sterling and Volk, I'd say probably the smartest, highest IQ fighter at 145. And I just don't know what to think about Yair anymore. He's so inactive. He should have fought Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes says that he turned down the fight after the whole Kulan thing. But yeah, I mean, this fight, it's cool. It's probably the weakest matchup of all the ones I've put together so far, but you got to book these guys against somebody, and neither are getting an immediate title shot. You'll see who's getting a title shot in my next matchup. But yeah, I think it's a solid fight. I'd lean Evloev, but who knows? Maybe Yair still got it in the bag. And then for the final matchup, I'm sure you're waiting to see who Alexander Volkanovski is taking on for the belt. It's Lerrone Murphy. And I'm not the biggest Lerrone Murphy fan. I thought he was a little bit of a boring, slow kind of fighter before he fought Aaron Pico. And that Aaron Pico knockout really saved his career in terms of trying to get a title shot and favor with the fans. Super high pace. Aaron Pico was on the front forward foot like Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje style. And you tell Lerrone was a little rattled by it. He hadn't dealt with something like that before. But when it comes to these precise, crisp strikers like Lerrone Murphy, he's going to find that shot if you're too wild and not defensively sound. The only reason why I'm a little worried about this is because what if Aaron Pico just wasn't that good? What if Aaron Pico is like not a top 10 featherweight in the world, which is really, it's very possible. What if Aaron Pico is like the 20th best featherweight in the world? Are we giving Lerrone Murphy a title shot for that? For getting a decision over Josh Emmett and knocking out Aaron Pico? The resume does sound kind of weak, especially for a division with a lot of guys who kind of are coming in line for a title shot. But the reason why I'm putting this together is because this is what's going to happen. Dana White pretty much confirmed it. Lerrone Murphy pretty much confirmed it. Alexander Volkanovski was tweeting after the fight, Lerrone, you're next in December. In terms of who wins this fight, it should be Alexander Volkanovski. As long as he is somewhere near his prime, he's not completely washed, which, to be fair, is a possibility. He got knocked out bad versus Makhachev, knocked out bad versus Topuria, dropped pretty bad by Diego Lopes. There is a world I could see where I don't think Lerrone Murphy will knock out Volk, but maybe Volk's speed is gone. I think he's 36, 37 years old now, and your speed is the first thing to go along with your chin, and his chin's been gone since the Max Holloway fights. There is a chance Lerrone Murphy just gets kind of a fluky title win over an older, aged, regressed, washed Volk. I hope that doesn't happen. I like Lerrone Murphy, but I'd like to see Volk get one more title win, solidify himself as a featherweight GOAT, and potentially as a top 5 fighter of all time. I know some people already have him like 1 or 2 all time. That's too soon, but he wins this fight. I think top 5 is very realistic for him. Jones, Silva, GSP, Mighty Mouse. After that, him, Habib, DC, those guys, Stipe, Fedor. That's like the next batch of guys, and he may set himself apart from that batch and enter like the Mount Rushmore batch of Mighty Mouse, Jones, Silva, GSP. So Volk actually has a decent amount on the line. I'm also a little nervous if his head is still in the game. He's talking a lot about how like he won the belt and he just wasn't that excited about it. He was excited because of like his road back to the top and how good it felt to just reassure that to himself. But he said the belt itself didn't really matter to him. He wasn't as satisfied as he thought he would be. It was more of just a proving it to himself kind of thing. When you start hearing things from fighters like that later in their career, it's usually not the best sign. But I think Lerrone Murphy is good. I think he's a top 5 featherweight in the world, but I don't think he's a championship caliber fighter. But he could get a sneaky title win by beating a washed Volk. But regardless, I don't see Lerrone as a long-term champion, but I think this is a fight to make. Lerrone is now, I'd call him an entertaining fighter based off his last performance. He's got a feel-good story. Everybody kind of likes him now. This will be a fun championship fight. Hopefully a co-main event on a big card. That's what I'm hoping for, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got. That's how I would match up the featherweight division, which really is heating up right now. Diego Lopes and Gene Silva. Diego Lopes, obviously, fan favorite, should be in almost everybody's top 10 favorite fighters and most people's top 5s. He's entered mine. Diego Lopes is the 145 version of Yuri Prohashka in terms of entertainment. And Gene Silva, you guys should still like him. He put on a banger fight. He's entertaining. I know you guys think he's corny, but he's still awesome. But yeah, that's how I'm booking the featherweight division. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, subscribe, comment, and yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.